Hello, friends. This is Caleb Warnock. Thank you for joining me to make botanical colors. I've already made some botanical color paint because I want to do something a little different here, and that is make some leaf prints. And so I've made, this is paint made out of orange marigold and yellow marigold and yellow marigold and yellow marigold. I didn't have any yellow marigolds, but my neighbor let me take some from their house. And then I added some hydrated lime to the yellow marigold and it made this brown. And then I added some citric acid to the brown and it made this green. And then I was trying to make some red out of the marigold paint, but I couldn't get any of it to turn red. But I did have some of these leaves in our yard that have grown. We live next to a gully and some plant has come in from the gully and started itself from seed. And so I don't know exactly what this is, but it turns red like this in the autumn, and I made this red paint out of it. And so I thought, let's try to print some leaves from all of this because it's that season. So what I'm going to do is see if I can find the brush. Here's the brush right here sitting in the water. Let's set this off to the side a little bit. And then we could just paint these leaves like all one color, for example. I'm just trying to put a thin coat of this red paint, which is just the ground up leaf with water. And I did put a touch of citric acid and ascorbic acid in there. And that's all that's in there. There's nothing else. There's no gum arabic. There's nothing else. And then set this here. Don't drag it. And then cover it with a piece of paper. And you could press it with your fingers like this. And then I also have a brayer here that we could press with. And I'm being careful to feel my way all the way around the edge of the leaf and the stem. So I get and up the stem so that I get a really good print. And then we just need to carefully pull that off. And ta-da, we have a leaf print. And that's just using one color. And that's a really nice color, so I think that's totally fine. But also, I think it's fun to take some of these other colors and just dab them on. And don't dab too much because we don't want to waste what we've got here, do we? I'm going to try to take some of this brown, which has begun to dry a little bit. And let's try to move this water somewhere so I can not have to reach clear across the screen. And then we'll try some of this green. And then some of the yellow marigold that is up here in the corner. And then we will take this and let's set it right there. We'll put this card back over it just so that it presses completely. And this time we'll use the brayer, just making sure that we go all the way across the main stem of that leaf, the main vein, and then up and down each side, just to make sure we've got everything. And then lift this off, and then lift this off. And now we have a mottled color, which I think is a nice color, because sometimes that's a little more what the leaves look like, is that mottled color. This time, let's paint on quite a bit of orange and quite a bit of red. Try not to mix them on the leaf too much. And then we'll set that here and cover it again with our piece of paper and press with our fingers. You could also use the back of a spoon if you wanted to use the back of a spoon. And go up and down that main vein and along the sides, and then carefully lift this off, and then try to lift this without smearing it. And ta-da, look at that. I think that looks really nice. And you can use this to make cards. You can use this to print to, you could take this out, cut it up, frame it, hang it on the wall. You could do seasonal decor if you wanted. It's not really my kind of thing, but you could certainly do that if you wanted. Let's take some of this yellow marigold. We'll put it right here in the middle. Oh, do you know what we should do? Because we've used this leaf 3 times. We should try a different leaf. I did go try to get some other leaves, including, if I can find it, I went out to my Japanese maple tree, it's too cold to grow Japanese maple here year round. So I recently moved it into the greenhouse for the winter. But I went into the greenhouse. Before I moved it into the greenhouse, it got frosted. And so these leaves are kind of damaged, but it wasn't totally dead. And I'm hoping that it'll still work. See how I've painted a little bit of this botanical paint onto that main stem as well. So I'm gonna have to be careful when I move this. Turn this upside down, put the card onto it, and move this over here so you guys can try to see a little better. And then smoosh and go find the main stem, print the main stem. When you're doing this, of course, you cannot move the leaf below. You got to hold the leaf down so that when you're pressing on the leaf, it's not smearing. And I think that should do it. Lift that off, lift this off. Oh, that's just not as good of a print as that, but it still did make a print. But that might be because this leaf was already damaged. Also, part of the reason it's not making as good of a print is because I was painting on the front. Now that we've pressed it once and this leaf is flatter, we can paint the back. Let's try putting some paint on the back because the veins are more raised on the back of the leaf than they are on the front, and so it'll make a better print. And again, I'm painting some paint directly onto the stem of the leaf, and it will make a better print if we put the paint on the back of the leaf. So I'm going to set that there. Grab our paper to cover it, which is getting pretty dirty, and do our thing. It only takes a moment. And then lift off the cover. Oh, look, we've got a nice print just on the cover that we were using, so it didn't smear. See, that is a better print. You can see the veins more distinctly on this Japanese maple. So that's just an easy way. And again, this paint that we're using was made from this, whatever that is, some wild tree, and yellow marigolds and orange marigolds, and that's all we used as far as botanical plants. And then I used a little bit of citric acid and a little bit of ascorbic acid and a little bit of water. Ascorbic acid, of course, is vitamin C. So we can just write on here, we can say, happy autumn. (2024). And we should say on here that this is marigold plus an unknown leaf, red leaf. And this is November. Okay, so leaf prints. I think those are just really fun, and relaxing to make and beautiful. So, you know, maybe you can find some leaves around you. And of course, you don't have to use the kind of plants that I was using. Any plant that will make that you can grind up to make these colors will work, but it's just kind of a fun thing to do. Thanks, friends, for hanging out with me. I appreciate it, and I will talk to you soon.